2, 1. All right. Good evening and welcome to Lower Makefield Township, February 9th, 2021 Park and Recreation Board meeting. We will do our call to order tonight. I'm Doug Kraus, the chairman. In attendance, we have Mike Lundy, Dave Malinowski, Dennis Wasaki, Rob LeVar, Kim Rock, Michael Brody, and Monica Tierney, our Park and Recreation Director. Absent, I see, is Mr. James McCartney at the moment, our Board of Supervisor Liaison. Our first part of the agenda tonight is the approval of the January 12th Park and Rec minutes. Does anybody have any comments regarding the minutes? Dennis?
Yes, quick comment. We could just clarify on page 14 what was the intended language in that middle paragraph around the level of resident participation with organizations. I just would like to have that either reviewed on the tape, or I can offer clarifying language if it's necessary, but I think it was around the participation level of residents with organizations getting preference. So, I mean, other than that, if that's the only thing, once Monica can have that confirmed from the tape or whatever, the rest of the minutes are fine with that adjustment.
All right, so Monica, we can go ahead and approve or make a motion to approve even with that adjustment.
I think you would all have to accept the adjustment in the motion. Is that correct? Correct me.
I trust you if whatever the tape says, if you have the tape, but if not, I'll offer the language. I'll just say, if an organization has a higher level of township resident participation, they should be given preference.
Should be given.
Okay. All right. So with that modification, we have a motion to accept the January 12th meeting minutes.
So moved with the amendment.
Okay. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand. And second.
Aye.
Mike Brody.
Aye.
Mike
All
Brody,
right.
aye.
Thank you, Michael. We can't see your hand, but I'll take your word for it. So, next up on the agenda is our CAPRA updates. Monica, I don't know if you want to just go through the two different sections and who wants to go first with updates?
Well, I can kind of start, and if anybody wants to jump in on what's going on. Both groups in Chapter 2 have come to the conclusion that they need some information from the user groups. So we put together a survey and surveyed some of the user groups. It's slow going with the survey. We have to get more participation. The school felt like the questions weren't geared towards them. So we're going to have to review the questions and see if there's something that we could figure out a better way to get information from the school district. But that's kind of a good start on Chapter 6. If anybody from the Chapter 6 groups wants to add in to that, I'd take it.
I think that's, that's where we are, Doug, is we put together a survey. Well, first we identified the stakeholders and the user groups. Then we put together a survey of questions to get feedback on what they're doing now in handling the areas that we're responsible for. And, so we're just waiting to hear back from them in terms of, the responses. So, Monica, did we give them a deadline or a suggested return date for that?
Well, we did want a suggested return date. We started with the leagues. Now we have to do more outreach. So the leagues, for the most part, responded. The golf course responded. And then we have to expand. The school district is who we have to figure out how to get the information we need from them. So,
is there anything that we can do to help? Do you have the right contacts at the school district? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I have no. It's not the contract. The contact. It's more the content. They didn't feel applied to them, so they had trouble answering the questions. So. I think that maybe we're just reworking it or working with them closely. Unfortunately, I haven't had time before this meeting to reach out to them again and touch base. So but I'm sure I could do that with them. And then for Chapter 10, we met briefly. I'm finding more and more as we dig into Chapter 10 that having the needs assessment done before we do some of Chapter 10 will be quite helpful. And that is something that you'll see in your packet that we did get approved to do the advertisement for. So we're working right now on that RFP. But other than that, that's about as far as we got on Chapter 10. We're a little bit, we have to wait for some information before we can move forward. And Mike, if you want to add to that, feel free. Or Dennis, or who else is that? Dennis.
I've got nothing to add.
I agree very strongly.
Okay, so that's all I have as far as updates for those two sections. Everything else is moving along. You can look forward to, I'm hoping in the next meeting, ADA transition plan and all ADA related presentations happening in the next meeting is my goal. We have a nice plan laid out. Right now, we're just trying to work on a timeline that's reasonable to try and do some of the repairs, at least start with a 3 to 5 year plan. So we're working on that and to bring to the board for discussion next meeting. So I'm working with the Disability Advisory Board on that. And it's going very well. And Jim Majewski is also helping with that too.
Great. All right. Thank you for that update. Anything else from anybody on the CAPRA updates before we move on? Monica, I don't know, or John, is there anybody from the sports user groups on tonight?
We have no public comment on the line. No one in the waiting room.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, Monica, I will turn this over to you in terms of updates from the Board of Supervisors, 9/11, and then future dates for the group here.
Okay. So I'll start out. I gave you all a memo that I sent to the Board of Supervisor for approval. Both items were approved in the last meeting. I can go a little bit into the slide repair. There's some cracking in a few panels that's significant, which would close the slide for the whole season if we didn't repair them this year. We reached out to several companies. No one was able to do, come out here and do what we needed to do other than Save Slide, which was also our vendor who does our annual maintenance. So we accepted, the Board of Supervisors accepted their quote. And they made a motion for that. So we're moving forward to that repair in line with the refinishing and surfacing of the slides. Also, I talked a little bit about the Recreation Needs Assessment Master Plan. You can see in this memo also an outline of what to expect in that. These cover a number of the key points in the CAPRA accreditation, but the biggest thing, that master plan is a huge emphasis that we have to have done, and completing the needs assessment. So as the board knows, and I think I may have included in your packet previous action plans and needs assessments we've done. But 2 years ago, we completed or three now, needs assessment just for the leagues and the sports fields. So essentially, we're going to expand into all of recreation to include, programming and the community center, the dog park, our trails. You'll see by the outline some of the other things that we're going to include in the needs assessment to help us move forward with planning.
So based on the information sent out, can I assume that the last one then was this 1997 action plan? So basically 25 years ago was the last? 25
years ago was the last action plan that I know of, that I'm aware of, unless if someone else has. And then in I believe there's a needs assessment. Did I include that in your packet? Yeah. In 1996, there was a needs assessment complete. And that's the last needs assessment.
Right. And that's what led to the action plan, was that, yeah, from that information. Right. Okay.
So we're essentially doing the same thing, but modernized. And really, this is something, these needs assessments should be done fairly regularly. maybe like every 5 years as things change through the township, to help plan for the future. So that might be something that we need to consider moving forward, how often and how frequently the park board would like to see those done.
It's in the memo here. I don't know if it was in the memo, but what is the timing for the RFP and then implementation?
So we're still working out the RFP to make sure it includes every single thing that we are looking for, and that it includes a vast history and all the documents that we already have in place, so that, you know, they're not redoing anything that we already have done. We don't want to do that. So I'm hoping to have that RFP done by the end of this week, early next week. And then we have to have it out online for about 2 weeks. And then the Board of Supervisor will then have to approve whatever the quotes that come in order for us to move forward. So,
and according to your note, looks like to have it intent to have it finished by September of 2021.
that would be the goal, finish in early September 2021.
Would that give us enough time then to have the assessment done, but then to be able to write and develop an action plan? Does that give you enough time with the budget process and everything?
Well, that's part of this, the action
That's included
plan.
in there?
and the
Okay.
action plan, it's all included. So
Okay. I don't know if that was
it's
the
really
assessment.
moving on this RFP so that we can get moving.
Okay.
Yeah, and one, we are going to ask the Bucks County Planning Commission to bid on this too, because they did complete the first half of that needs assessment. I think it'd be a natural continuation for them to finish the whole project. So that being said, I just want to look at I buried my stuff here. Also in that same meeting, they approved, James McCartney is going to be the BOS liaison for the 9/11 committee. And they approved Mike for being the PR liaison last meeting. And then Ellen, Judy, and Danielle Frost were also all approved. Now there's a couple more interviews to go. If there are any other residents or anybody else who would like to be involved with the 9/11 committee, now's the time. Please send me a resume, and we'll try and get you on the agenda for an interview.
They must be residents, correct?
They have to be a resident for that committee. Now, if you were
Right.
a non-resident, you want to be involved, you still can. You can come to committee meetings and voice your opinion. And you can also participate through volunteering for certain parts of the certain aspects of the 9/11 events. So there's that. And then I put together a quick slide for you for important dates coming up. Now, there's so many important dates, I couldn't include them all, but I tried to include the biggest, most important dates. I'm going to just share my screen real quick.
Hey, Monica, before you move on, can I just ask a question about the needs assessment?
Yeah.
Right. Insofar as COVID drastically changed field usage in many ways, both in terms of availability and in terms of kids' participation, is the league's needs assessment still actually up to date? And I know we just did it. Believe me, I know we just did it. But is that does it properly reflect where we actually are now as opposed to drastically 2 years ago?
Well, that's a tricky question, Mike. I did consider it. I don't know if this is a long-term thing or eventually are sports just going to go back to how they were. And also, we're not offering everything that we did offer in the last couple of years. So it's kind of hard to say. Definitely worth a discussion. But I don't think we need to do it right now. I think I'd rather wait and see where COVID takes us, because who knows? Who knows? And it'd be really hard to make a prediction right now, I think, in my opinion.
Understood.
And I guess it just might be how those questions are phrased, right, to the audience in terms of in the assessment, right? Whatever survey goes out, it's how those questions might be phrased to people, so they answer it, to solicit the response you're looking for.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. Before, we didn't really reach out to the community. We reached out to
Right.
the user group heads. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a true community needs assessment. So it is something we can consider, maybe pre-COVID, post-COVID type question. So it might be worth a conversation for sure.
Well, Monica, Are we, I thought our sports side of this was complete and that we're going to focus on the non-sports side.
Well, the supports or sports facility assessment is complete. The resident needs assessment part is not. So you could still ask questions about participation in current programming about sports to the public. The sports fields and the sports user groups haven't been assessed, but the actual users, the individuals, have not participated. So this is where we can get information from them. Does anybody have any more questions about that topic before I move to the next one?
Nope.
Okay, so here's some key dates. Now, my league dates are based on the past. I haven't gotten their official schedules this year, but I just wanted to put them out as so people know kind of generally speaking what to expect. We've finished some of our things, some of our key dates for the pool, started moving with that. Tomorrow is the resident member information Zoom. The dial-in information's on the Zoom page on social media and it was sent out by email this last week. There was also a FAQ sheet that is in your packet, I believe, that was sent out the same way. So people, we are getting a number of the same questions. So wanted to answer those questions as best we can prior to the meeting. Discount period will end on the 5th. There's lots of questions about the discount period. I'm recommending to people, if you're considering joining the pool this year and you want to take advantage of the discount period, take advantage. You can always get a full refund up until the day we open. So if you decide at any point that you're uncomfortable, you can get a full refund up until the day we open. After that, you cannot get a refund. So that gives you plenty of time to make a decision. But if you want to take advantage of the discount period, purchase your membership now. We're also going to run a second survey. So a key date that I don't have in here is in March, Bucks County Department of Health plans to give us new guidelines for all summer programming. So we should see in March new guidelines, updated 2020 or 2021 guidelines. Right now, all we can kind of work off is the 2020 guidelines that are very restrictive. So we kind of want to see what they have to offer here. So that's a key date. So after we know those and we start really planning here, we're going to send out a survey to all the potential members again to get more information from them and see how they're feeling all overall.
Would it be wise to have another resident member Zoom call after that release and you'd have time to digest that so that people might have, now that once you have more, like you're going to get this, you're going to have a host a meeting tomorrow and there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions, right? Because a lot of the information is not coming out till March. So would it be wise to have another, I guess you have one in May, but I guess would it be even wise to have one a little earlier before, because the opening day would only be 30 days prior, I guess 30 days after that resident member?
Well, that gives us plenty of time to plan. So we're going to do this survey, right? So we're going to do the second survey on the 25th. We're going to get the information in sometime in March. They didn't give us a hard date on that. The 25th, we're going to run a survey based on some of the new information we know. And then that gives us plenty of time to kind of come together with a more final plan to give to the residents and the members at an information Zoom and answer all those unanswered questions beforehand. Still gives them a chance to get a refund if they want a refund or whatever by the 28th. Because once we open on the 29th, all refunding is over at that point. So that kind of gives us a little bit of time.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Then on the normally Mother's Day Madness Tournament, PAA, I just put it in. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but I put it in. One thing that we had talked about doing last year is a league day at the pool prior to opening. And the reason we really want to do this league day is to answer two things. One is the leagues always want to have a special day at the pool. That's the first. And second is it's an opportunity for our staff to kind of get their feet wet prior to the season, and gives us an extra day to go over things on Friday before opening day on Saturday. So league day is kind of a way for us to work out any kink that we might have. Are we going to do it this year? I'm not 100% that we're going to be able to do it, but I like to keep it in there because I do think it's a good opportunity for us to practice all of our COVID protocols, to talk about how we're having people enter and leave the facility. That would be a great day for us to really work through that as a staff too. And then opening day is the 29th, and on the 31st is Memorial Day Madness PAA. I'm just putting it in there as a marker. I don't have their official schedule yet.
So Monica, this list, could you go back for a second?
Mm-hmm.
This is not all just pool stuff, although 90% of it is, but you have 2 PAA events in there?
Yeah, then you'll see on the next page where more stuff picks up for the department too.
Did YMS stop doing the Mother's Day tournament on the girls' side?
Oh, did I miss that? I'm sorry if I missed
It's
it.
listed as July 8th on the second slide.
Oh,
They're
they-
at the
I was
tournament.
going to mention that because usually the girls' tournament's on Mother's Day and the
they moved
Columbus Day is the boys' tournament. So
I don't know. Maybe
we
I
I
don't
didn't do
know
the
if
girls' one.
they're not, but
Obviously, that got canceled.
All right.
was going based off of what I could find before this meeting, so I apologize if I might have messed something up.
They might have moved it. I don't know.
We will be doing the food truck festival. These food truck festivals have been running very well and smooth, and the Bucks County Department of Health is very happy with the way that they're running, and they inspect all of them. They feel good about them. So we will move last year's food truck festival to the 5th of June at Memorial Park. And then I think these dates are pretty set. The 15th and the 16th for Pennsbury tournament camps, and then the 17th through the 20th for Pennsbury tournament.
Is that Father's Day?
Yeah, I believe that's Father's Day weekend. And then Camp LMT will start on the 21st, that following Monday. And Camp LMT, we're still, same thing, we're waiting for those county guidelines. I haven't even put up registration yet just because I'm not sure how many kids we will be able to have. And we do want to guarantee some sort of indoor space for them if it rains. Last year, the all outside camp really didn't fly here in Lower Makefield. So we want to make sure that we're running something that people really want to sign up for. So registration might go a little later for that. And this camp might be a lot smaller. We don't have all the answers yet. So I really haven't put much out about that. And then I have the Epic tournament in here. Again, these dates are very, not locked in. I'm just trying to mark things in the calendar for you. Last day camp would be the 13th. Community day would be on August 28th this year. On the 5th, the pool will close. September 11th anniversary, the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Then the Columbus Cup. One thing that we do have locked in is the mass tree planting this year. We have scheduled for the 23rd of October. So we'll be looking for a lot of volunteers for that. And that will be again at Patterson Farm. And sometime in October, Pennsbury does their spectacular tournament, but I didn't know when that was. And the Veterans Day Parade will be on November 6th. So that kind of just goes through some of the bigger things. Of course, there's a lot of planning timelines. One thing that you will have to consider as a board, if we want to do, especially with our new members, some kind of tour of all the parks, not necessarily looking like it usually looks, but at least to get the new members through some of the parks to see what's going on. But this will evolve with time. I will improve as I go. Does anybody have any questions about timeline?
I did check. The first day of school, I think, for Pennsbury is August 30th. So that with the community day, everybody should be ready to go to school. So it should be.
Yes, hopefully everybody's home and they can come and participate. How that's going to look this year, it all depends on how vaccines are going. I would like to do something, but I don't know how it's going to be in September. Hate to say any guarantees other than pool is opening this summer. That I'm going to guarantee. All right. So that's all I have for that. And then I had a couple other things here. Pool registration. I gave you some pool registration information. I got some questions about this, so I just really want to let you know this is really a snapshot. It's not your actual normal report you get. It's just something I wanted to give you before the meeting so you could kind of see trends. This is something I pull from the registration database. Sometimes there's some correcting of these numbers that has to happen. So I don't want you to get locked in, but I want you to see that we're very far ahead in registration than we have been for the last 2 years. And I think that's partly due to members thinking that we might cut off registration. I don't believe that to be the case this year. We're going to try to schedule the pool in such a way that where usually we have crowded times, we're going to change the way we do things so that we don't have overcrowding. So we're looking to continue registration.
It's very interesting that the non-resident number is way higher than
it has been in the past.
So I don't know if just word got out and people are like, this is the game in town and I'm going to join. Is that non-resident? Is that limited to Yardley or is that anybody again, just for purposes of?
A resident, Yardley Borough is considered a resident for the pool.
So non-resident is anybody that's not within Lower Makefield.
Yeah, it could be touching townships. We've had discussion about touching townships. Middletown Township closed their pool this year. Well, actually, and we knew they were going to close prior to COVID-19. So a lot of their members were coming over. So that might be a reason why it's a little higher. It was a little higher last year too, due to that fact. But I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out over time. So we'll just keep an eye on it. But I did want to give you a quick snapshot so you could kind of see where we're at and see how people are feeling. People are wanting to register for the pool. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see after tomorrow's Zoom meeting, like if people further, there's another big rush.
Yeah. Another couple of things I want to talk to you. The interns are working on a couple projects so that we can have some activity in our parks. One of them is kind of an egg hunt township wide. So we're going to hide so many eggs around the township. And if kids find them, they can bring them to the community center and win a prize pack with a bunch of various activities and that type of thing. And then there'll be a golden egg and you win a little bigger of a prize pack. So that's something that we put together so the whole township can get involved, and we'll hide those the week before Easter. So if you find an egg, bring it to the community center and we will give you your prize. And also we're looking to do a walking challenge. All the details are not put together yet, but it's going to be called Stepping into Summer. Stepping into Summer, it's going to be, you have to get so many steps each week, and over a series of weeks, if you get, you get a t-shirt with registration, and after so many weeks of your steps, if you reach a certain goal or milestone, you'll get a medal. So we're doing that to try to come up with some things to engage the community during a COVID time. So that's something that we're going to do too. So look forward to all that information coming soon. And then in your packet also, you'll see that there's a final budget. I'm not really going to go over it with you because we did do budget presentations, but I did tag for you all the PR important pages. And if you have any questions anytime, feel free to ask me, but I've reviewed the primary highlights in the fall for you. So you'll see that reflected in the budget.
Monica, how are you going to,
Sorry, go ahead.
Just going to ask you about the Easter eggs for the ones you hide. Are they unique eggs that someone, if they bring them in, you know, like what if someone just goes to Stop and Shop and buys some plastic eggs and brings them in to the?
Well, they'll have a thing inside of them that says, you know, they'll get almost like a laminated card that says you won and you have to come to the community center to retrieve your prize.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not just any egg. You can't bring any egg. You have to bring a little ticket inside.
Monica, I love the egg idea. I
What?
think that's great. I love the egg idea. I think that's great.
Thank you. I'm excited about it.
Who's hiding the eggs?
Excellent.
I would like it if you were to post on Facebook or send out like updates, like, 25 eggs were found today. And maybe the next day, there's another 150 out there. I think that would be fun.
We plan to make it in a social media engagement thing. So if people find their egg, take a picture of you finding the egg, that kind of thing. And
Who's
then
hiding the eggs?
the interns are hiding them. So it can help them get to know our park system a little better too. So they'll be out hiding them.
Quick question for you on activity and dates. I didn't see anything on there unless I wasn't paying attention, but is there anything planned for Earth Day with our parks on the 22nd?
Usually there's a joint program that we do with all the municipalities at Core Creek Park. I believe that's canceled for this year, if I'm correct. The EAC is planning, I think they're considering planning something for Earth Day that we could partner with them on. So stay tuned. But there's nothing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just figured if it was outside and we could safely do stuff at our parks, whether it's a cleanup, whether it's plant some tree or whatever, maybe. Figured that might be, again, as long as we're following, at that point, you'd have at least the guidance from the county. So.
Yeah. So I think for sure the EAC is planning something. I have to get back with them. I've been meeting with them quite a bit, preparing for the tree planting. It's going to be quite significant. I think it's going to be quite larger than the last, where I think we planted 250 trees. I think it'll be much more this next round. So when I meet with them again, we'll talk about it again. But I do think they've had discussion about that. So I'd rather not step on their toes and work.
No, I just wanted, given that it's parks, I figured that'd be something we could do, or at least be within the park system. So.
Sure. And we had talked a little bit, light discussion with their chair about maybe running some programs in the park, like education type programs in the park. So that'd be a nice partnership with them, I think.
Thanks.
Does anybody have any other questions for me?
All right. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. That we've covered all the agenda items. Does anybody else have anything that wasn't on the agenda that they want to bring up for discussion?
I was thinking about today when I think 2 years ago or last year, before COVID, we had started kind of having us join the league meetings and at least trying to get one of us, a couple of us to each league's meeting, just to try to, I think we kind of like it when Kurt and Township come to our meetings every now and then. That that kind of, maybe it'd be nice for obviously not me to sit in on PAA, but for have us get involved with some of the league meetings. And since everything's on Zoom, maybe it'd be a little easier. So I don't think we necessarily have to do that tonight, but at least if you want to consider it something we could discuss for next time or something.
Hey, Brody, did they express interest in having us? I'm just wondering if we would be welcome attending.
I don't know. I mean, I know that the time I went for the soccer meeting, it was pretty interesting. I know that at baseball, I obviously go to the baseball meetings because I'm pretty involved, and every meeting, there's at least one thing that comes up where they'll tend to ask me kind of like for my park and rec hat, where if I wasn't at that meeting and you were there, I'm sure they would ask that question. I don't think we need to go all the time, Dennis, but maybe a one. I think when we did it the time last year, we were thinking once a year, but I don't know. There's just a thought.
No, I think you raise a good point. I don't know, Monica, is it something that you want to, we could either assign, or you can ask when those are, I assume they're still having their meetings, right? They're just having them by Zoom, and whether or not the leagues would be acceptable to having a park and rec member.
I think we have to ask that first. We can't just assign someone and assume.
No. That's what I'm saying. Ask them if they would be acceptable of having somebody attend their meeting, and then we could provide somebody to attend.
I think that would be the best course of action, is ask the leagues if they'd be interested in having someone come. I do communicate with them fairly regularly. I'd be glad to send out an email to everybody and see. how they're feeling, or if there's a certain meeting they want you to attend or whatever.
Yeah. I forget do you remember when we did it 2 years ago? Or, I'm not making this up. I remember that I was asked to go to the YMS meeting. So I went to the YMS meeting, right?
I remember.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're not making it up.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a certain time of year, and again, they just have questions. And to your point, Michael, if somebody's like, "Hey, from your Park and Rec hat, what should we be thinking about? Should we go about it? What should we come from the board with?" Just so that they come and they're well prepared. If they need to come present things to the board, you can give them at least some advisory role, right? And that's not set in stone. You're not telling them what to do, but how to best do it, right?
It was interesting to hear, especially because I go to the baseball meetings for myself. Like, it was interesting to hear soccer and their discussions, and sort of like how sometimes they're talking about the same exact thing from an opposite side. And even just hearing kind of how the board kind of is in the middle of like what we're deciding and what their members want, so it was an interesting experience. It was actually pretty neat to see how the different leagues like operate. So, but to your point, if the leagues don't want it and they would actually find it like intrusive, by all means, like definitely no desire to do that. It's not, it wasn't intended to be a big brother or, watching over them or anything like that.
And
So,
then,
Monica, if you can, sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to suggest to Monica, if she does touch base with the leagues, it does present it as such, like it could be ad hoc, right? Like if you find a need for one of your meetings where it would make sense to have someone from Park and Rec, then by all means ask us. We'd be happy to send a representative.
Yeah. Anyways, if there's nothing else, I'd be more than happy to make a motion to adjourn.
I don't believe there is anything else on tonight's agenda. So,
Second.
Mr. Brody, if you want to make a motion to adjourn, please go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
David seconds. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you all. Much
All right, guys.
appreciated.
Bye, guys.